You know, one of my favorite YouTube channels, Corridor Crew, decided to make a video titled Making Home Alone Rated R. You know, if they just waited a week or two, saw this movie, they wouldn't have had to make that. Rambo Last Blood. Rambo Last Blood is about Rambo Last Blood. It's basically Taken, but it's his niece. Guys, this movie is really fucking fun. But before I splooge on about how awesome it is, let me get to my cons first. Earlier in the film, some of the editing is a little weird. Like, towards the beginning of the film, there's a scene when Rambo is just walking around some tunnels and then he has a random Vietnam flashback and then it just abruptly cuts to him doing some steelwork, okay? Now, some of the dialogue is a little basic. There's a scene where he's talking to his niece about how, she's gonna go on to college and he's like, hey, you got a life to live to you. Yeah, I just don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. That's not foreshadowing at all. Now, I'm not expecting Macbeth or anything like that, but I don't know, like they just retweaked it just a little bit. Would have made this movie just a smidge bit better. So, some of the dialogue is still pretty funny though. Like, Rambo is talking to some dude over the walkie-talkie about how he's gonna tear him apart or whatever. And the dude's just like, fuck you. And then Rambo says something else to him again. And he says, fuck you, but in Spanish. Another thing I didn't really care for in this film was the score. It was a little basic and quite frankly reminded me a bit of an episode of Law and Order. So when I found out Brian Tyler made the score for this, I was a little confused. If you don't know who he is, he's made scores for films like Iron Man 3, Guardians of the Galaxy. He's a really good composer. So it was a little disappointing hearing the score. It's not gonna make or break the movie, but I wanna add it a little. So basically at the beginning of this movie, Rambo's niece finds out where her dad is living, and she's like, I want to meet him. But Rambo's like, no, he's a bad guy. I don't want you to meet him. Okay, Uncle John, I'll do what you say. And then she immediately goes to see her dad in Mexico. And that's not the issue that I have. My issue is the dad. He's in it for only 2, maybe 3 minutes of screen time. But he has the biggest mood swing I've ever seen in my life. Like, Rambo's niece is like, why did you leave us? And he's like, you look just like your mother. And then he goes, I never fucking wanted you. Like, where the fuck did that come from? Out of nowhere. The biggest mood swing I've ever seen. Now let's move on to the positive. One, Sly Stallone is always great. He always just seems to bring in a little bit of life to every performance he gives. Pacing in this film is really good. The movie's like an hour and a half. But really, it feels like it's only about 45 minutes. And a pet peeve of mine I have in movies is like when people in other countries are talking English, like there's not an English speaking person at all. Why are you speaking English? That just doesn't make sense. But here, when it's two Spanish people talking to each other, they're actually speaking Spanish, and that's good. I don't get why that's an issue in so many other films. That it's a Spanish speaking country. Have them speak Spanish. But you didn't come to Rambo 5 expecting a really heartfelt drama or Macbeth or anything like that. No, you came for one simple thing, the action. And by God, it is so much fun. You know, at the beginning of this video, I joked about how this movie is basically a R-rated Home Alone, but there is literally a scene where Rambo is setting up traps. And it's exactly like the scene from Home Alone when Kevin McAllister sets up some traps. And from the minute the first trap goes off, I am smiling ear to ear. Rambo is just destroying these guys relentlessly. And there's one part where I cheered and clapped when this happened. A little bit of spoiler warning for Rambo Last Blood. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to click out if you don't want to hear the rest of this video because spoil things and there's really not that much to spoil, but that's you. So 5 seconds starting now. Okay, so in this movie, Rambo's niece gets kidnapped and is put into sex trafficking. And the sex traffickers constantly fill her up with drugs. And even though Rambo does go to save her, she dies from an overdose. And Rambo is like, I feel like my heart has been ripped out. So when he finally gets the main cartel guy in the position, he takes the biggest knife I have ever seen since Crocodile Dundee and precisely cuts right where the heart is, and Kali Ma's this motherfucker rips it out and goes, "That's how it feels." And that's the end of Rambo 5. In conclusion, guys, Rambo Last Blood is one hell of a fun time. It's not gonna win any fucking awards by any measure, but it's also Rambo 5, so you know what you're getting into. I'm gonna give Rambo Last Blood a B-. Badassery, but shitty dialogue. Guys, thank you so much for watching this, and to help support this channel, please leave a like, comment, and please do subscribe. Until then, night y'all.